Home, what exactly do you mean?
घर से बहुत मोहब्बत होती है, पता नहीं क्यों.
My life's ambition fulfilled.
From here, I only intend going to the graveyard.
Of course, this is my home. Definitely, it's my home. I've grown up here.
For a while, home is what you're born to. There are some homes you can never leave. Some you can never go back to. Sometimes home is brick and mortar. Sometimes a person. Sometimes a belief. Home is a place where you feel at home. I like to think that my great-grandfather, Dr. Zakir Hussain, built a place that he called home in the 1940s. Mia, as he was called by everybody, built his house on a street lined with Gulmohar trees that someone named Gulmohar Avenue. Soon after, partition forced millions of people to rethink their idea of home. For Mia, the house on Gulmohar Avenue remained home. It seemed a simple choice. A life, a home, an identity. A choice he expressed along with friends and colleagues by setting up a nationalist educational institution, the Jamia Millia Islamia, on the banks of the Yamuna in Delhi, next to a village called Okhla.
आए हैं तो बन रहा था, थोड़ा थोड़ा रह गया था, ज़्यादा वो नहीं था. घर तो हमारा ठीक बना था, मॉडर्न ही डिज़ाइन था उस, लेकिन बिजली नहीं थी, पानी नहीं था. फिर तो सेटल ही हो गया सब. छोटी सी कम्युनिटी थी, तो बिल्कुल फैमिली की तरह से रहते थे. मैं 47 में कोई 20 साल की रही होंगी. तो उस वक्त जो क़यामत आई है वो तो हमारे नज़रों से गुज़र गई. जामिया की जो बोर्डिंग की जो इमारत थी, हम उसमें उन्हें शिफ्ट कर दिए गए थे सारे एक साथ में. तो वहीं पे सब रहते थे और मर्द जो लोग जो थे वो रात को जागते थे. लेकिन हर वक्त ख़तरा रहता था कि आसपास जो गांव है, हमारा जो गांव था वो तो मुसलमान था और हम लोग भी समझो थे वो मुसलमान थे, लेकिन आसपास के जो गांव थे तो वो शरारत कर रहे थे.
तो आप लोग मुस्लिम लीग के बारे में क्या सोचते थे?
हम तो कांग्रेस के फेवर में थे, मुस्लिम लीग को पसंद नहीं करते थे.
क्यों?
भाई उनको अच्छा समझने वाले इतने थे तो वो कामयाब भी हो गए, लेकिन हमारा एरिया था, हमारे मिलने जुलने वाले और हमारे ताल्लुक़ के लोग तो उन्हें बहुत ही बड़ा समझते थे, बहुत खबीस आदमी समझते थे.
My grandmother's easy conviction was helped, no doubt, by the fact that my family was part of the elite. With independence came the project of nation building, and across India, the elite imagined themselves as workers in this project. But building a home for yourself on the banks of a river is very different from building a home for the millions who inhabit a nation. Driven by that certainty that India would be home to its millions, no one stopped to ask why. And so, if the project took them away to other homes, well then it just had to be done. By this movement of history, I grew up far from Jamia, in the more powerful part of town, which to me was unquestionably home. For its trees and turns, its visible spaces and invisible borders. The power was as unseen as the dust, overshadowed by the home which was my parents' love for each other.
It got disrupted because of the war.
All flights were cancelled in the east. Bangladesh was then part of
Then you had
Pakistan.
to take a train. You took a train.
I had to drive all the way from Tinsukia to Guwahati, catch the train, then we had to wait I had the train booking, no trains were leaving. The first train that left was mine. Because they were bombing the bridge over
Guwahati.
near Guwahati, the newly built bridge. And fortunately, their marksmanship was very poor. They dropped their bombs in the Brahmaputra and left. And then we were across. I was taken upstairs and given my sherwani and all that I had to change into. And that was it. And I waited until I was called downstairs for the ceremony.
My father came alone for his wedding. Not unusual, given that he came from a Maithil Brahmin family but was marrying a Muslim in a nikah ceremony. It was the first of such weddings in the family.
भाई जाहिर है पहली शादी थी और मर्जी के खिलाफ थी तो सबसे ज़्यादा तकलीफ इसी में हुई, फिर तो आदी हो गया.
The day I decided I'm going to marry her, I knew that I would have to, the choice had been made. I mean, my mother was there, father wasn't there. The mother would, I may not see her. I made the choice.
There was a dilemma. There was not being able to live without me here. And with him, there was also that desire, that hope, that desire for acceptance.
For her, it was very important. To me, religion meant nothing. I knew there was a God back period. I think what I did was right. It gave you one anchor. Otherwise, you wouldn't know where you would be rootless. This way, I exposed you to my side of the family as well.
So why is it important to give roots to children?
Security is a sense of security you need. This is where I belong.
You need to belong, and you get security from that.
From belonging.
Belonging.
Yes.
So where do you belong?
I belong in Jamia.
And where do you belong?
I belong wherever she is. Simple.
Yeah.
My parents tried to give me a belonging that was more than their love for each other. And so in the choices of everyday life, they chose for me to be Muslim. I always knew that. I knew that when someone asked me about my name, or when we celebrated Eid at home, but Diwali always at my father's brother's house. We were hybrid children with hybrid names, but a less hybrid upbringing. This is the house my parents got married in, the home that Mia built on the banks of the Yamuna. A house in Jamia Nagar, also called Okhla, or sometimes Mini Pakistan.
तोबा कॉलोनी और साइन बाग तक ये सारा मुसलमानी मिनी पाकिस्तान, इसको कहते हैं मिनी पाकिस्तान. पुलिस वाला भी अगर कोई बाहर पकड़ता है तो वो पूछता है पहले आप कहाँ रहते हो, जी ओखला रहते हैं. अच्छा, मिनी पाकिस्तान में रहते हो आप. और इधर जुलैना, तंबू नगर, भरत नगर, आपका ये न्यू फ्रांस कॉलोनी, ये बॉर्डर है. सिखदेव बिहार, मसीगढ़, ये इधर का बॉर्डर है. इधर आ गए तो मुसलमानों में आ गए, उधर चले गए तो हिंदुओं में चले गए. तो ये बॉर्डर है.
तो आपने ये इलाका क्यों चुना?
अभी कितनी जगह हुआ, जैसे बिजनौर में हुआ था, मुरादाबाद में हुआ, मेरठ में हुआ, इससे डर लगता है. फिर अब यहाँ तो सारे लोग एक तरह के हैं, तो इसलिए लोग यहाँ ज़्यादा.
आप विचार कीजिए कि इस समय इस देश में जितनी स्वतंत्रता, जितने अधिकार, जितनी छूट मुसलमानों को मिली हुई है, हमारे मुसलमान बंधुओं को, उतनी संसार के किसी देश में नहीं, किसी देश में नहीं.
When my parents moved from Assam, we lived for a while on the border of mini Pakistan, in a place named after Mia, Zakir Bagh. A colony that had a little bit of both parts of town, a little bit of both worlds, a little bit of khorma and biryani, and a little bit of beer and whiskey. Today you can find McDonald's and Pizza Hut here, but you can't get them to deliver across the border. Zakir Bagh was a stopover on my family's return journey to the house that Mia had built. I went to school from here, with others who had names like Azra and Azhar. There was no sign of Muslimness in my school uniform, or in my arguments with my mother about how late I could return home from a party. But friends who dropped me back often asked about Zakir Bagh being a Mohammedan colony. Perhaps it was the names. But I knew I was different from those people on the 8th floor who slaughtered goats on their balcony for Bakr Eid.
I don't know what's the idea of the average Muslim girl is really like, because people sometimes are surprised when they ask me my name. What's your name? Farah. Okay, Farah what? I said, okay, Farah Khan. Oh, you're a Muslim. So they're quite surprised at looking at me. So I asked them, what do you think? What a Muslim girl looks like with kajal eyes, long hair, or maybe a dupatta on her head. That's what maybe the idea people have, which is not true at all. I remember when I used to go to school, people used to watch. I was wearing a uniform, which has been allowed everywhere. Because most of the girls maybe wear shalwar kameez as a uniform, and I used to wear shirt and a skirt with my shoes as a uniform. So it used to be a little strange for them. And of course, it's been years now, people have grown up, they have started going out and working.
Your parents moved here because they wanted you to be part of a community. But what do you think about it now?
See, the kind of work which I'm doing, which is the priority right now in my life, if given a choice, I would like to move out, maybe. Because I'm really not comfortable with the idea, because see, my parents do get worried when girls come back home late at night. But here the problem is that they know that I'm safe, nothing is wrong with me, that I'll be coming home, I'll be getting dropped and whatever. Maybe the whole idea that, my neighbors would, if they see me coming at this hour, what would they think? And they actually talk like that. I remember a day actually when my friend dropped me from work. I was on a bike with him. I was like, oh, you were coming back with a guy on a bike. And they're like, speculations like that. So these kind of things make me a little uncomfortable. Hello, I don't think so. I'm answerable to you. But still, what I normally do is I just walk across to take an auto or a rickshaw to new friends colony. And there's a change of environment suddenly. The change of people, the ambience. For example, when I'm walking in Zakir Nagar, I'll be a little cautious maybe. Okay, fine, somebody's looking, so I have to walk a certain way. And maybe when you're walking on any other place in Delhi, you'll be like, on your own, no? Nobody would, it doesn't make a difference. It's like, just like that. So here it's like being a little cautious. Again, I'll say it's like holding a hot glass, in your hand. So when you're walking here, you know that it's hot. But suddenly when you go across, it suddenly does not exist.
Was I too holding a hot glass as I walked in and out of Zakir Bagh with my boyfriend? Or was I holding it in my determination not to prefix the word Hindu before boyfriend? Did I wonder if people were looking at me when I emphasized my diverse heritage, as if to say that I was Muslim meant that I could not be other things?
उस वक्त 47 में से हम 6 महीने के अंदर ही फिर हमने बुर्का उड़ा करते थे, हम सब यहाँ के सब लोग ओढ़ते थे, औरतें, तो वो फिर हमने छोड़ दिया था। याद नहीं है मुझे कि हमने क्यों छोड़ा था, या तो खौफ की वजह से छोड़ा होगा कि हम बुर्के में जाएंगे तो हमें पहचाना जाएगा कि हम मुसलमान हैं। कहने को तो हम कहते हैं, लेकिन हम डरते थे उस वक्त, अपने मुसलमान होने से डरते थे।
लोग कहते हैं कि ये मुस्लिम एरिया है, आपको क्या लगता
है? बिल्कुल है भी। यहाँ इधर जाके देखो तो सब उनका लिबास, उनकी बातचीत, उनकी हर चीज़ जो है वो उससे फ़ौरन समझ लेगा भाई ये लोग मुसलमान हैं। यही है पहचान, और क्या।
हर घर चुपचाप से ये कहता है कि अंदर इसमें कौन रहता है।
Initially, though, I didn't know where the trouble was, because I was just told that it's. They used to take my all whatever the required documents were, and then call up, or they didn't even bother to call up saying no. Which is okay. So after sort of questioning and finding out, I came to know that it's because of Jamia Nagar where I stay, that getting a loan or getting anything which is credit, based on credit card or loan or things like that, is a problem. I was speaking to this executive and I was trying to figure out why. I was giving her these reasons. I have a family background, you can come and see, and my parents who had applied for their credit card, but that was 6-7 years ago. Apparently then the negative area thing didn't happen. Then said, actually that's not the problem. Yeah, I mean, she said it clearly on my face as in on the phone that you're a minority, you stay in a minority area. And after 9/11, we have had this policy of not giving loans or credit to people staying in this area, similar areas like Jama Masjid. And she gave me examples like Jama Masjid, Jamia, Mehrotra. I couldn't say anything more. I mean, I couldn't sort of say, yeah, I mean, what can one say at that point of time? I'm born in a Muslim family, I'm a Muslim, okay, I mean, that's a problem. Till that day, I never felt myself as a Muslim. All these ruckus being created about the Ayodhya and this and that, Gujarat, and I never felt as if I'm a Muslim and I'm being hurt. What hurt me even more was my family and my friends' reactions, which was, don't bother, yeah, we'll get you a credit card. I mean, I have a friend, I have an uncle who's this, and things like that, but that's not the issue, you know. What if I was not a Kidwai? What if I was not in this house? What if I was a butcher? That hurt me. That the first time I stepped out of my shoe and I became a common man. And it was scary. Yep.
In the summer of 1991, we moved to the house in Jamia. In the liberal, progressive world that I sought to inhabit, the neighborhood had something of an exotic value. But it also began to mean something more to me. Perhaps it was the house and my affinity for nostalgia.
देखिए इनको दिखाओ ये ज़्यादा
अरे ये तो मुतहरा
आता है याद मुझको गुजरा हुआ ज़माना पता नहीं क्या है कुछ अच्छा लगता है लेकिन ये मेरे ख्याल से ये हमारी जनरेशन ही तक था इसलिए कि हम तो मैंने इस घर को टूटते हुए कोई चीज़ अगर बदली गई है तो मुझे काफ़ी था वो ये मैंने टूटने नहीं दिया था लेकिन अब तो तोड़ के और पूरा घर तोड़ देते हैं और उसको मल्टी स्टोरी बिल्डिंग्स बना लेते हैं ज़्यादा जगह होती है पहले घरों में
लेकिन घर की तो अहमियत अभी भी है ना
ये अहमियत क्यों नहीं है जो नया घर बना रहा है उसकी तो बहुत अहमियत है लेकिन जिसके पास है तो वो उसको वहाँ पे पला है बड़ा है जवान हुआ है शादियाँ हुई हैं बच्चे हुए हैं तो वो अच्छा लगता है उससे एक बॉन्ड होता है जड़ें होती हैं
So what is this movie about anyway?
It's about our life and the life of this neighborhood.
Yeah, you should read east of New York, west of Kabul. And it's exactly like here. Kachi Diware and Kachi thoughts. They're not based on a rational system. They're sort of Kachi thoughts are where tradition makes you put one block of mud over another block of mud and that becomes a wall and you think it's secure. Rain comes, wall comes down. Even when it becomes a khandar, the bonds remain. The signs of where the wall was remains and everybody goes there and says, "Ye mera ghar tha, yahan main yahan baithta tha," except the bonds all remain. But meanwhile others have built multi-story things, whizzing in, whizzing out, and this guy is still sitting there saying कि इस घर को फिर से बनाना है. These are all kachi things. These are not pakki things.
It was a bond which made my parents build their house on Gulmohar Avenue. It was also a desire for permanence. But for the men who laid the brick and mortar for this house, permanence is always fleeting. So once this house was built, they returned to the Okhla Labour Chowk, waiting to build someone else's idea of permanence. Sometimes brick and mortar is home, and sometimes it is only brick and mortar.
I wanted to join membership in any kind of housing society which had people with educational backgrounds of similar kinds. Something like Dwarka was in my mind. But yes, I had problems. People did not tell me openly, but I guess I had problems in getting membership. And ultimately I got a membership in a housing society which is not what I was very specifically looking for, but eventually I had to settle for it.
What was that?
It's a mixed kind of a group, but it has a majority of basically Muslims, you can say. It's called Shah Jahanabad Group Housing Society. People do have this feeling that they should have membership of people who come from their own either regions or religions and all of that. I don't think in those terms. Aspirations are also, I think, are are important factors that I would give quite a bit of weightage. I don't see it as a kind of a ghetto. I see large number of people subscribing to newspapers, sending their children to good schools, at least having the aspiration to send to good schools. In fact, in this particular society, which are highly educated, professional types of people, my children are able to still play despite the fact that it's not an open area. We still have relatively manageable situation in terms of supply of water, electricity, etc. is concerned. I'm quite open to living anywhere else, but for now I'm fine.
I was fine in those months after December 1992 when the Babri Masjid was demolished. There were no riots in Okhla, but one evening a scooter driver refused to take me beyond Friends Colony because he said, "वो तो Mohammedan area है और अंधेरा हो गया है, कुछ भी हो सकता है." I was a resident of a Mohammedan area. Suddenly, I was Muslim. And then, when I decided not just to marry Kunal, but also to not have a religious ceremony, was I not Muslim? Just as suddenly.
Strangely enough, that was difficult at the personal level. More difficult. And it seemed like a negation of, all that Mihir had done. That it felt. It hurt me a lot to begin with. And I didn't know what to do about it because I was so fond of Kunal. Great misgivings about, children, about what your children would be. I had that.
I don't think it was about the marriage, it was about the conditions of the marriage would be under. I expected that. I think what was important to me was that you didn't think like that.
So you don't feel that they like you?
No, they like me. But I think what they want out of you more importantly is primary on their mind rather than anything else.
And what is that?
Just they want you to grow up in a certain particular sort of manner and do certain things the way they want. The way they imagine for you, I suppose.
So, when you say it's difficult to keep the context completely free of religion, in what ways does it fit in?
Little things, expectations from various families, certain ways that we've been brought up to believe that certain festivals, certain greetings, whatever it is. I mean, it's just little cultural things that creep in with religious connotations. I mean, it exists in our lives. We're not totally devoid of it.
My parents tried to give me uncomplicated roots that couldn't have included my civil marriage. But the sari that I wore and the family and friends who were our witnesses were just as much a part of my roots as the gharara that I wore at the reception later on. I wanted to wear a gharara, what many call a Muslim dress. It was part of the texture of my life, and in a strange way, I would have felt disloyal if I'd worn a lehenga instead. Being Muslim mattered, I suppose. It mattered again when we had our son and wanted to name him Imran. I don't know how the world sees Imran, or how he will go on to see himself.
I have no say as far as his life is concerned. It's his own life. It'll unfold the way it will. I have no desire to control it. I've done away with religion in my life at least. And it took me a long time to get to this point. I wasn't brought up or born this way. And I'd like to pass that on to him as far as possible. So I don't have any problem with Muslim or Hindu. I don't think in those terms. Actually, it bothers me that you think like that.
When Gujarat happened, you were in Jamia. Was that important?
Oh yes. Again, there was sense of safety and sense of belonging also. Sense of belonging that I was, we were safe here, we were among our own. In fact, I had one of Mihir's friends saying, that if that the Muslims, they have to adjust. I think it must have been about the temple. And if they don't like it, they can go. So I remember saying, go where? Go where? There is nowhere to go. This is our home. Why should we go?
मेरी तो पैदाइश ही ओखला की है और डैडी आए थे पाकिस्तान से। ये सारे 47 के बाद शिफ्ट हुए इधर। एक फैमिली है इनकी, हमारे भाई साहब हैं चावला जी, ये भी यहीं पर रहते हैं। काफ़ी लोग हैं यहाँ पर, हमारे पंजाबी भाई भी हैं, मुसलमान भाई भी हैं। ये है पंजाबी गली, आइए। ये हमारे छोटे भाई का घर, ये मेरे मामा जी का घर है।
आपने कभी ओखला छोड़ के कहीं और घर बसाने की सोची है?
नहीं जी, मैंने तो ज़मीन भी नहीं ली कहीं भी। ओखला से 8वीं मैंने करी थी, 9वीं 10वीं 11वीं मैंने मॉडल स्कूल लाजपत नगर से करी है, जामिया से BSc करी है। मुझे तो कोई डर है नहीं किसी तरीके का कि इधर उधर भागूं। मेरा तो अपना 300 गज का प्लॉट है, 2 साइड ओपन, अपना सारे भाई उसी में इकट्ठे रहते हैं उनके। ये है जी दूसरी पंजाबी गली, आओ। हम यहाँ पर थे, कोई 20 फैमिली थी, 4-5 चले गए हैं, 10-15 तो अभी है। एक फैमिली जो है यहाँ से शिफ्ट हुई है, उनका सरिताबाद में फ्लैट आ गया था। उनका फ्लैट आने से वो उधर शिफ्ट हो गए, लेकिन उनका बिजनेस यहाँ पर ही है अभी। एक फैमिली ने कालकाजी में रिहाइश बना ली अपनी, लेकिन उनका बिजनेस यहाँ पर है अभी ओखला में। तो इस तरीके से है, अदरवाइज ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है कि कोई ये है कि हिंदू मुसलमान वाली बात हो, वो नहीं है। मेरी पैदाइश यहाँ पर है और भगवान ने चाहे तो मरूंगा भी यहीं पर ही। मैं नहीं जाऊँगा ओखला छोड़ के कहीं भी।
अजान हो गई।
I have never felt answerable for the crimes of a terrorist because I was Muslim. I have never felt insecure because I was Muslim. I have never had to leave a place because I was Muslim. Does that make me any less Muslim? If I call my son Imran or teach him to say adab, am I underlining my Muslimness? Or am I simply passing on to my son the texture of my life, like the texture of my skin or the shape of my eyes? There is no wind that can blow the dust of all our entangled histories away. Is there a history that is simple?
घर तो हमारा ठीक बना था।
All flights were cancelled.
In my life, it was.
यहाँ पर है
There was a dilemma.
और भगवान ने चाहे तो मरूंगा भी यहीं पर ही।
Sometimes the story of a life is the story of a search to be at home.